would change you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't like it when script writers or game developers as well think they are so smart that they make an amazing story. Every now and then someone comes along and they do. But there is nothing more compelling than the interaction between people, which is what we see in the game. And story. Too much, story in DayZ would destroy that. The story should come from the players.
I agree.
If you find a book in the game, it should be written by a player.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That is, and I mean, I love the idea that you have too of not just forcing that kind of story onto your characters. No character-driven story that is fake and just like isn't organic. Didn't come from someone who's actually in the game. Didn't come from someone who's actually playing. But I do like that you're still going to balance that with the world story. That you're still going to have that aspect of like history of how this sort of came to be. Why. There is a post-apocalyptic landscape in front of us. I think that's going to be really, really cool. That's actually probably the second favorite thing I'm most excited about.
It is cool, but it's also one of the harder ones to develop. Because you either drive that background based on what's possible in the game, or you have to alter the game fit it. So it's difficult, and that's why I'm wanting to bring my brother on kind of as like a writer and a scientific consultant. To provide that direction and to help us solve problems where required. But it's a tenuous balance. It's very tempting as a designer to get your ego and go, wow, I'm an amazing storyteller. We are not storytellers. And I think if you're in the business of making multiplayer games, other than very rare exceptions, you shouldn't be telling a story. You should be setting it up so the players can tell their own stories. And I think that is incredibly rare in games. There are very few games that do it. They're usually indie games because it's such a risk. If you screw up, you've got no cutscenes to pull you through. You've got no, this looks flash and this looks fancy. You've just got gameplay. And if your gameplay sucks, your game sucks.
Right, wow. If you say that you're a movie buff, I'm going to assume that you are a fan of The Walking Dead?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
The funny thing is I actually started watching it after I started making DayZ. Matt said to me, you've got to watch The Walking Dead. You've got to watch The Walking Dead. I started watching it. Because I've been in army training, and actually a lot of DayZ was developed while I was posted to Waiouru, a little base in New Zealand. So I was kind of out of it, really. But yes, I am a fan. I like Dale. Dale's my favourite character, particularly the book Dale.
Okay. So that person who still sort of wants to have that sense of society and humanity to the world.
Yeah, there's a lot of Dale that I find I think of myself, right? So, I identify a lot with what Dale thinks, I think.
Okay. Have you seen the most recent season 3?
No, I haven't.
Okay, then I won't ruin it for you, but you need to watch that.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that later.
I really wish Frank Darabont continued directing it. I'd love to meet him someday. I love the work that he's done with some movies. He did The Mist, Stephen King. That movie was brilliant. I loved the ending and what was put into it. And actually that was a significant inspiration for DayZ because it was all about human interaction. It was a fanciful setting in The Mist. But the human interaction was everything, what people would do. And that's where the horror was. The real horror was not what was happening outside that supermarket. It was what was happening in it.
Right, yeah. And that was, my kind of issue with those. Like, I remember I watched that movie and I thought it was so great. But then I kind of didn't like the ending. I think I'm one of the only people that didn't really like the ending just because I felt like it was a bit of, I don't know, in a way it was a little too easy, but I loved the whole thing leading up to that. It felt like one of those social experiments that, we kind of froth at the mouth over. And
yeah, well, I think I read an interview that said Stephen King, though, he actually liked the ending from the movie better than the book.
Oh.
The book's a little different.
Okay.
But I know Stephen King loves Frank Darabont doing his movies. And
right.
I don't know, I do feel it's a real shame that he wasn't continuing to... He wanted to direct The Walking Dead as mini movies, whereas I think AMC wanted to keep the costs low.
Right. Chris actually has a recommendation for you that you should, if you haven't seen it yet, you should watch Derren Brown's Apocalypse Experiment. Have you seen that on YouTube?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you the
Yeah.
link in a little bit, and then you can watch it. It's only about an hour and a half long or
I'm
something.
really looking forward to, I think it's The Dark Tower coming as an HBO series, because I love the HBO series for the length of time and the character development they put in. So them doing Stephen King's Dark Tower, I mean, look, it could be terrible, but I'm quite optimistic based on what I've heard about it. Quietly optimistic.
Right. Well, I haven't heard of anything about Dark Tower, but I'm going to have to look that up. So this is giving me things to look up too. But Derren Brown, he's actually like a neuro-linguistic expert, and he sort of, I guess in essence, he plays with people's minds. And he decided to basically interview thousands of people to find who he could hypnotize and successfully put them in a...
I have seen this. He's a British hypnotist, right?
Yep.
I have seen it. I'll watch it again, but it is pretty awesome. He gets them to go through like a hospital, and he catches one of them while they're playing on a arcade machine or something.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. I have seen it. I saw that a long time ago, actually. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was so cool because he actually made them fully believe that they were in a post-apocalyptic situation, and to see their reactions, to see a guy who was normally so introverted, so selfish, and so, lazy in essence, rise to the occasion, like in a real sense, not I'm acting, but I truly feel that this is what's right for me to do now that I believe that my family is dead and that the world is demolished. It's just, that kind of thing really gets me excited. I am digressing.
Well, it's like I've had a few people say about like DayZ Con and stuff like that. I would, we go to enough gaming conventions as it is, and they can get a bit, they're fun, but I would think it would be really cool if we were ever going to do something like that, to do it more like a survival camp. That would be awesome, like an apocalypse survival camp. Dreams are free. Yeah. Someone dies. That would be great.
God. Okay, so we are digressing. Chad is reminding me. I'm just starting to talk to you about my own personal things now. Okay, well, Chad, if you guys want him to stick around, then you have to come up with the interesting questions here. I'm just going to help relay them, and that's it. Rocket can see what you're saying too.
We probably have maybe how long till that place shuts, Matt? Okay, well, maybe let's say we've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes of questions.
Okay, so 10 minutes of questions.
12 minutes.
All right, so we're going to call this at 20 hour. What do you say? 100 hours? 20. I'm used to the 12-hour clock in Canada.
Something like that.
Something like that, guys. Yeah. So we're going to call it in 12 minutes. Chris is reading your questions and typing them to me in Skype, and then I'm going to relay them to Rocket. So, okay, people want to know if there's going to be bulletproof clothing. So is there going to be any ballistic vests that you can get, or I guess riot gear maybe, anything like that you might be able to find on the map? Again, with obviously the risk of contamination.
So the classes of clothing that we have 100% confirmed: hat, glasses and eyewear, night vision, stuff like that.
Right.
In fact, I think eyewear is separate to night vision. Yeah, that includes like masks, so anything that covers your face. We have a top, so a jersey of some sort, whether that be a hoodie or a jacket or something like that. Then there's vest. Vest is a ballistic vest that you can put on. And then there's pants put on. There is boots that you can put on. Now, all these clothing items can add more space for you to put stuff in. So it's kind of like in, what is that game I always play? It used to be Jagged Alliance, where, different clothes... Actually, no, it doesn't have that. I don't even know what game does. But, XCOM, you have some slots to put items in your pants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of dynamic like that. And but the short answer is yes to ballistic. So at the moment it will be vests and helmets.
Okay, good to know. Is there going to be a disadvantage to using a ghillie at all? So, for example, I guess less armor because it is just fluff.
Yeah, unfortunately though, when you start to talk about like the armor of clothing has like no armor. So if you wear a ghillie suit without a vest, which would probably be a smart idea or whatever, then obviously you have no ballistic.
Right. Okay. Well then, that would make sense. I mean, because you can't necessarily. Okay. Will windage be included in sniping instead of just elevation?
I don't know. I don't know. We probably aren't going to screw much with ballistics of armor for a start because it works. We're going to deal with all the other stuff later.
Right.
All the other stuff first. So it'll be as it is at the moment.
I've seen in one particular server, that I think it was a Namalsk server, there was puffs of like when the player exhaled, you could see their breath. Are you planning on making sure that that's in standalone?
Could you just run that by me again?
Sorry, like you can see your breath on like in colder temperatures. I know that some Namalsk servers do that right now.
Well, I'm super big on all that. Like, it's
Yeah.
really snowy here at the moment, and I love when we walk out here now, there's some kind of, like, there's something about it being cold and freaking out. So we definitely want to do a lot of that stuff, but that's not going to be in the first release that you're going to stream.
Okay.
We're literally talking basic stuff. So we want to do all this stuff, but it is really going to follow the Minecraft thing. So one Friday, you'll come in, and we will have introduced a bunch of stuff.
Okay. Good to know. The Bandoliers for holding more magazines.
Bandoliers, yeah.
Bandoliers, sorry. Bandoliers.
But Bandoliers sound cool. Sorry, go ahead.
For holding more magazines, it's just because he spelled it wrong. For holding more magazines, but will you basically hold less food because of that?
Yeah. Well, that's what is awesome about. Now, this wasn't actually my idea. I was initially around locking it down in terms of the container space that you have. But different clothes will give you different container space. So you can put items inside your pants, and then if you put your pants on the ground and forget about those items are going to stay inside the pants.
Good.
But it does get a little bit complicated, so I'm still a little bit concerned about it. But essentially that's it. So, yes. And then because magazines are objects, you will actually have to load ammunition. So you will find ammunition boxes in the world, or piles of ammunition. You take that ammunition and you load it into magazines, and then you fire.
Okay. So, actually, about weapons. How do the optics work? So, can you keep like the same ACOG scope and swap it between lots of different weapons, and will it degrade each time that it's detached? Is there going to be anything like that?
I'm using people like Dyslexy. So even though I'm in the army, I wasn't an armorer, so I don't know a lot of this stuff. So there's an armor celebrity called Dyslexy that I'm sure a lot of people know. So I'm going to use him as a bit of advice and sounding board, and some other people as well, to come up with how that works. I'm more concerned at the moment on how the base architecture works. And that is the build that you are going to be streaming, and however long it's going to be, that will be architecturally based. There'll be a lot of people that are disappointed with it, but the people that matter are going to look at it and go, hell yes, this architecture provides us what we need to build a good game. Okay. It's not going to be a good game. It's going to be the architecture, the foundation that we can build a good game on.
This is actually another really good question from Oshi7. Will the gun animations change? Like right now, everything is so hostile because every time, like as long as you're armed, you look like you're aiming at someone. So will there be a different default stance so that when you're approaching people, you can tell the difference if they're hostile or not?
Well, one of our senior team members, Lukash, he was the producer on Take on Helicopters, I think. Or project lead, I'm not sure how it works. But he is a big DayZ player with his gaming group. They're very serious, these guys, very serious, here in the Czech Republic. And he's really big on this. And he's also in charge of our animation team. So the answer is yes. There's going to be a lot of work done to make sure that you walk around with your weapon lowered or on your back and that kind of stuff. And because of some of the, you're not going to be able to change between first and third person as quickly as you can now. You're going to have to go into your menu and change it. So it means that if you actually want to shoot someone, you don't have a crosshair. You're going to actually have to like look down the scope at someone and or look down your sight.